What did you get in trouble for? Tell me about that.
Getting in trouble?
Yeah, what would you get in trouble over?
At one dealership that I spent 10 years at prior to the one that you came right after me, I used to get complaint letters from customers. Complaint letter, like they'd write a letter. And, I went to my owner about one, and God bless him. He said, I have 2 filing cabinet drawers for you. He goes, I've got one with your complaint letters and one with your compliment letters. He goes, you get the highest amount of both. He said, so as long as the one file's bigger than the other file, you're okay. But, I never liked getting a complaint. But I can tell you that I have, when I say get in trouble, I have absolutely gotten in trouble with some ethnic stuff in the store. And, one was terrible. I don't mind admitting it. I went to, you asked directly, so I'll answer. I went to high school with a guy that I still talk to today, a black guy. That, we shticked about, we kidded about absolutely everything with each other. And I knew many of his cousins and whatever, this whole clan in school. And it was not only black, but his one cousin's lesbian. I still talk to her too. And all those. Okay. So we were very, very, very having fun with each other about that stuff our whole life. He comes into the dealership, comes around the corner. I think it's just us. I'm wearing, I'll never forget what I'm wearing. I'm wearing a blue striped seersucker suit, which how often can you wear a seer? You can't wear it very often because it's so memorable, that it can't be in your once a week, in my opinion, rotation, like a black suit that no one noticed. He says to me, I don't know if I want a white plantation owner waiting on me. I say, I don't know if I want to wait on a bleep. We're getting ready to hug each other. At that moment, an African-American salesperson that works for us came around the corner when the bleep came out of my mouth. Like, that's true. It's like what happened. And he actually did go complain to HR at the dealership about using language like that at the dealership. Now, I was a boss. I was a big boss. I had, a big business card. I was director of operations. I've been there 10 years, give or take. And would I reprimand anyone or correct anyone on earth for doing that? Of course I would. Of course I would. But I actually thought that I was remote, no one around, and it was him and I was responding. So that's like a real one where I really, really felt like, am I getting terminated over that? That was like a scary one to navigate.
And that is a perfect example. I'm actually, if you're okay with it, I'll use that as an example in my future trainings too, because that is a perfect example of what happens when your intention is different. Now you have a history with this guy. He's your friend. You've, joked with him forever. And there's so many times when this has happened where you are just joking with a coworker and there's somebody that is listening that doesn't know you or that just happened to walk by and they were the ones that were totally offended by it. And they were not even, and the defense is like, but we weren't even talking to them. They were not even in the conversation. Well, it doesn't matter. They weren't in there. They were present. They heard, and then they have a complaint. So you just, it's almost like exhausting that you have to be so measured, especially if you have like an outgoing personality like you do and like a lot of people have in the sales world. It's just that way. You just like you just say what you're gonna say.
100%. And I've mellowed quite a bit, and people say to me, like, Jeff, wow, you just seem like you're lower key. Did you read a lot or study a lot? I'm like, I'm older now. My 12-year-old Labrador acts better than when he was 6. I didn't train him any. I'm just older now. I'm sure there's some life education in there, but the epilogue to that story is that he was there to get a car, and I was a boss, so I had to give him to a salesperson. And right or wrong, the dealership, trying to smooth over the situation best they could, gave him to that salesperson to sell him the car. And my friend calls me and says, I don't want to deal with, because he knew what happened. He says, I don't want to deal with this guy. He goes, you and I were having our own conversation. We've known each other since we're 15 years old. And yes, he overheard it. And yes, it was inappropriate, but it was really just us talking and, whatever. And the other guy was African-American and really trying to pull him to the whole Malcolm X side of the table. And he wasn't thinking like that at all, So the really weird thing is he also was in the car business at one time, and he's actually a manager in the car business now, the guy that I had that exchange with, ironically. Thank God he understood the car business enough where I said, listen, there's no way I can try to take him off of you or you off of him and give you to another salesperson. And he ended up calling into the GM and explaining that he couldn't work with the salesperson because it was a little too much of the suppressed African-American theme that the salesperson was trying to put on him.
Right. And he wasn't about that. Mm-hmm.
Not even, not at all.
This has been Jeff Stearns, Connected Through Cars.